The door clicks shut. The promotion is yours. The new title, the higher salary, the congratulations from the people who just handed you the keys to a machine you do not actually know how to drive. You should be ecstatic. You have worked years for this exact moment. But as you sit alone in the quiet room, the smile collapses. Your jaw locks. Your stomach tightens into a cold, heavy knot. You are not celebrating. You are calculating. You are calculating how much time you have left before they realize they made a terrible mistake. It is a quiet, exhausting dread. You carry it into your office. You bring it into your relationships. You lie awake with it when the screen goes dark and the house is silent. It is the suffocating certainty that your entire life is a house of cards. Any day now, a boss, a partner, or society itself is going to tap you on the shoulder and say the words you have been anticipating your entire adult life. We figured it out. We know you have no idea what you are doing. Every time you succeed, you do not feel pride. You feel the panicked relief of a criminal who just slipped past security one more time. You attribute your victories to a lucky break, a glitch in the system, or simply being in the right place at the right time. You convince yourself that you are just a master manipulator, fooling everyone around you into believing you belong. You are holding up a heavy, smiling cardboard mask. Your arms are shaking from the weight, and you are terrified that if you drop it for even a second, the world will see the child wearing an oversized suit hiding underneath. Tell the truth down in the comments. What is the most ridiculous lie of competence you have told this week, nodding along to a conversation while secretly panicking because you had no idea what was actually being discussed? You keep this a secret. You think this fear is a personal defect. You think it means you are broken, uniquely flawed, missing some fundamental piece of confidence that everyone else was handed at birth. You are not. In 1978, clinical psychologists Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes began interviewing a highly specific demographic: remarkably successful women. These were individuals with advanced degrees, thriving careers, and undeniable proof of their competence. They had the awards, the test scores, and the titles. But behind closed doors, Clance and Imes found no confidence. They found only terror. These women were absolutely convinced they were frauds. They believed their high test scores were clerical errors. They believed they had accidentally charmed the admissions committee. They believed their entire careers were an elaborate accident and that exposure was imminent. The psychologists put a name to this invisible ghost. They called it the Imposter Phenomenon. For decades, society assumed this was a rare glitch, a minor insecurity affecting a small group of neurotic overachievers. We treated it like a personality flaw, something to be fixed with a few deep breaths and a positive attitude. But modern research has blown that assumption completely apart. Today, we know that up to 70% of all people will experience this phenomenon at some point in their lives. Look around you. The pilot flying your plane through a storm, the surgeon holding the cold steel of a scalpel over an open chest, the CEO steering a company of thousands. Statistically, 7 out of 10 of them are secretly convinced they are hopelessly underqualified. They are faking their way through the day, navigating by the seat of their pants, praying no one looks too closely at their work. Psychologists call this pluralistic ignorance. It is a bizarre social mechanism. A majority of a group privately shares the exact same fear, but because everyone is hiding it, each person assumes they are completely alone. Imagine a massive boardroom. 10 people sit around a table, all projecting absolute authority. But if you could X-ray their minds, you would see 10 identical screaming panics. We are sitting in a room together, all wearing masks, all sweating beneath them, all completely convinced that everyone else has a real face. But this raises a deeply uncomfortable question. If you are actually competent, if you actually have the skills and the track record to prove it, why does your brain punish you for it? Why does success make the fear worse? Because of a brutal psychological paradox. It is the inverse of the famous Dunning-Kruger effect. The Dunning-Kruger effect dictates that the most incompetent people are completely free of self-doubt. They possess an absolute, unshakable confidence. Why? Because they lack the capacity to measure their own ignorance. They stand on a tiny mound of dirt, look around at their incredibly small horizon, and declare themselves masters of the earth. They do not know enough to know what they do not know. Ignorance provides its own anesthesia. But as you actually gain skill, your perception shifts. You read, you work, you struggle. You step off that little mound of dirt and you walk to the edge of a cliff. Suddenly the fog clears and you see it. The infinite, terrifying mountain range of things you still do not understand. The more competent you become, the clearer your vision of your own limitations. You realize how complex the world actually is. You realize how many variables are utterly out of your control. You realize how much of human endeavor is just blind guessing. Intelligence does not cure the feeling of being a fraud. Intelligence creates it. But psychology only explains how this happens. It does not explain why. It does not explain the physical severity of the panic. To understand why your brain tortures you with this specific, crippling fear, we have to look deeper. We have to look at the dark, unforgiving biology of human survival. If you want to keep exploring the hidden biology behind ordinary life, subscribe. We are only scratching the surface. For 300,000 years, human beings did not live in cities. We did not have corporations, or universities, or performance reviews. We lived in small, nomadic bands. According to anthropological baselines, like Dunbar's number, your brain evolved to manage a social network of about 150 people. That was your entire world. That was the tribe. And in the ancient tribe, survival depended entirely on the group. You could not hunt a mammoth alone. You could not survive a brutal winter alone. You needed the pack. But the pack was incredibly dangerous. Evolutionary anthropologists, like Christopher Boehm, have documented a behavioral system in early human bands called a reverse dominance hierarchy. In much of the animal kingdom, the biggest, loudest alpha rules the pack through sheer violence and intimidation. But early humans evolved differently. We were physically weak. We possessed no armor, no claws, no venom. We survived only through extreme cooperation. Because of this, early human tribes were fiercely egalitarian. They despised arrogance. They viewed anyone trying to elevate themselves above the group as a lethal threat to the survival of the tribe. If a hunter brought back a massive kill, he was expected to be aggressively quiet about it. He was expected to say the meat was small or tough, or that he just got lucky. If he bragged, if he claimed extra status, if he acted like a king, the tribe would react with immediate, coordinated hostility. They would use humor to mock him. They would shame him around the fire. And if he did not immediately lower his head, they would kill him or exile him into the darkness. And exile meant death. Your brain was wired in that environment. You do not feel like an imposter because your brain is broken. You feel like an imposter because your brain is functioning perfectly. It is executing an ancient survival script. When you get a promotion, when you step into the spotlight, when you achieve something great, your modern prefrontal cortex wants to celebrate. It wants to feel proud. But deep down, your primitive amygdala is screaming. It is looking around in the dark for the glowing red eyes of the tribe. It is terrified that you have claimed unearned status. It is actively trying to make you feel small, inadequate, and fraudulent. Because for 300,000 years, extreme humility was the only armor that kept you from being pushed out into the cold. We are suffering from a massive, agonizing evolutionary mismatch. You have a prehistoric brain operating in a modern capitalist society. And today, society demands the exact opposite of ancient humility. You are required to boast. You must write a glowing, exaggerated resume. You must sit in job interviews under bright fluorescent lights and aggressively sell your own competence. You must log on to professional networks, construct a perfectly curated digital avatar, and broadcast your victories to thousands of strangers. You have to build a personal brand. Every time you type out a list of your achievements, every time you hover your finger over the publish button, you feel a physical wave of nausea. Your chest tightens, your breathing goes shallow, the blood rushes to your face. That is not weakness, that is biological friction. That is your DNA begging you not to anger the tribe. You are forcing a prehistoric survival machine to do the exact thing it was programmed to view as suicide. The exhaustion you feel at the end of the day is not just the work. It is the immense invisible energy it takes to override hundreds of thousands of years of evolutionary programming just to survive in a modern office building. We spend our entire lives running from this feeling. We think that if we just get one more degree, one more promotion, one more zero in the bank account, the feeling will finally stop. We think competence will eventually build a wall high enough to keep the ghost out. But the wall never gets high enough. The goalpost always moves. Because the imposter phenomenon is not measuring your actual skill. It is measuring your visibility. The higher you climb, the more visible you become. And the more visible you become, the louder the ancient alarm bells ring. You feel the heat of the tribes stare on your back, waiting for you to make a mistake so they can tear you down. So how do you cure it? You do not cure it with generic self-help. You do not cure it with plastic positivity, or by standing in front of a mirror and lying to yourself about your infinite flawless greatness. You cannot outachieve a biological reflex. You cure it with a cold, philosophical realization. You feel like an imposter because you assume there are real adults out there. You assume that somewhere, behind a heavy mahogany desk, in some high-rise boardroom, there is a class of people who have been given a manual for how to run the world. You think the people in charge actually know what they are doing, and you are the only one who somehow missed the orientation. There is no manual. Look at human history. Look at the structures we live inside. It is not a carefully orchestrated symphony of geniuses executing a flawless master plan. It is a long, chaotic lineage of terrified, hairless apes making it up as they go along. The systems, the governments, the technologies, the rules of society, they were all built by amateurs who were secretly afraid they were going to be found out. Every institution was constructed by people who were just as anxious, just as uncertain, and just as deeply flawed as you are right now. The economy is a collective hallucination managed by people who are constantly surprised by it. The medical field is a slow, brutal process of trial and error. The adults in the room do not exist. Are you unqualified for the position you are in? Probably. Are you making it up as you go? Yes. Are you hoping nobody notices the cracks in your knowledge? Absolutely. But so is everyone else. The horizon of knowledge will always expand faster than you can walk toward it. You will never arrive at a place where you finally feel like you understand everything. You will never cross an invisible finish line where the anxiety magically evaporates and you suddenly feel like you belong. And that is not a tragedy. That is liberation. Because if 70% of the world is faking it, then faking it is not a crime. It is not a moral failure. It is just the definition of being human. We are all standing on the edge of the unknown, holding a flickering torch, pretending we know how to navigate the dark. The only difference between you and the person you admire is that they have learned to be comfortable with the trembling of their own hands. You can put the heavy mask down now. Your arms are tired. Look at the person sitting next to you. Look at the boss. Look at the expert. If you look closely enough, behind the professional smile, behind the tailored suit, behind the confident posture, you will see their arms shaking too. There are no adults in the room. We are all just pretending. And we are doing a terrifyingly beautiful job.